Story 1. Have you ever felt scared to do something new but wished you could be brave anyway? On the bright savanna of Golden Grass Plain, a young meerkat named Miri liked to stay where it felt safest, right beside the burrow entrance. When the colony lined up on lookout mounds each morning, she always chose the lowest, closest one. Her brother, Zane, bold and bouncy, loved the tallest mound. "From up here you can see everything," he called, the clouds, the birds, even the glitter of the faraway river. Miri pressed her paws into the soil. "I can see enough from here," she answered, though a tiny part of her wondered how the world looked from way up high. The meerkats took turns watching for danger. 3 sharp chirps meant trouble from the sky. 2 short ones meant danger on the ground. Miri knew the signals by heart, but her paws shook whenever Elder Tova suggested she climb higher. "You have quick eyes and careful ears," Tova told her kindly one day. "The colony needs your courage." "I don't have courage," Miri whispered. "I only have worry," Tova chuckled. "Worry is just courage waiting for a job." That night Miri lay awake in the warm tunnel, listening to the soft breaths of her family. She imagined herself on the tallest mound, nothing between her and the big blue sky. Her chest fluttered like a trapped moth. Still, there was a tiny spark inside that wanted to try. The next morning she surprised herself. When the lookout line formed, she didn't choose the lowest mound. She picked one a little higher. The ground felt wobbly, even though it was firm, and the sky seemed much bigger from there. "Nice step," Tova called up. "Courage grows by inches, not leaps." Each new day, Miri chose a mound just a bit taller than the day before. She practiced standing straight, breathing in for 4 heartbeats, and out for 4 more. "In, out, I can, I might," she murmured to herself, letting the words march with her breath. A few days later she climbed the second tallest mound. From there she saw so much more. A cluster of trees, the twist of the river, a flock of starlings curling through the sky. The wind nudged her whiskers, but she didn't duck. "I'm almost as high as you," she called to Zane. "Tomorrow we'll share the top," he shouted back. Miri smiled. For the first time, tomorrow felt exciting instead of scary. But the next day did not go as anyone expected. The sun stood high and hot when a strange shadow slid over the grass. It moved too smoothly to be a cloud and too quietly to be a flock. Miri was halfway up her mound when the fur along her back prickled. She scrambled to the top and scanned the sky. There, circling on wide, silent wings, was a golden eagle. Miri's first thought was to duck. Her second was Elder Tova's voice. "The colony needs your courage." Her legs wanted to crouch. Her heart wanted to run. Instead, she filled her lungs. "In, out," she whispered. Then, as loud and clear as she could, she gave the danger call. 3 sharp chirps that sliced the still air. "Eagle, eagle, down, down, down." For a heartbeat the savanna froze. Then everything moved at once. Mothers grabbed pups. Foragers dropped beetles and roots. Dust puffed up as dozens of paws dashed for the burrows. Miri kept calling, voice wobbling but strong. She did not climb down until the last little tail vanished underground. Only then did she jump from the mound and dive into the tunnel. Wind from the eagles passing brushed her fur as she disappeared below. In the cool dim, the colony huddled together, catching their breath. Elder Tova counted every pair of eyes. "All safe," she said at last. She turned to Miri, who gave the first call. She asked, though everyone already knew. Miri's ears burned. "I did," she said softly. "But I was terrified. My legs felt like jelly." "Of course they did," Tova replied, eyes warm. "Courage is not what you feel before you act. Courage is the choice you make while your legs are jelly." Zane nudged her shoulder. I didn't even see the eagle until you shouted, he admitted. You saved us. Miri's spark of pride was small but bright. It glowed right beside her leftover fear, and somehow the two fit together. Later, when the eagle had flown far away and the savannah grew calm again, the meerkats climbed back onto their mounds. Elder Tova cleared her throat. Today, we need a watcher for the tallest mound, she said. Someone whose eyes are quick and whose heart has learned to stand anyway. Every gaze turned to Miri. The tallest mound still made her stomach flip. The sky still looked huge. But now she knew what her worry was for. It was courage with a job. I'll try, Miri said. Step by careful step, she climbed. At the top, she rose on her hind legs, tail balancing her, face turned to the bright, wide world. The wind wrapped around her like a soft blanket. She was still a little scared. Her legs still felt unsteady. But beneath the shaking was the rhythm of her breath and the memory of her brave call. My name is Miri, she whispered toward the shining plain. Sometimes I am afraid, but I am standing here, and I will watch over us all. From then on, whenever a young meerkat trembled at the base of a mound, Elder Tova would nod toward the tallest one, where Miri stood like a tiny, steady flag against the sky. Look there, she would say. That is what courage looks like. Not the absence of fear, but the choice to climb with it, so everyone else is safe. Story too deep beneath the waves of crystal current, a young narwhal named Nami swam with a pod that shimmered like moving stars. Nami's tusk was shorter than the others, and she often hid near the back of the group so no one would notice how quiet she was. Every morning the pod met by a ring of coral, where the leader, Elder Kilos, planned their day. We'll travel toward the shimmering kelp forest, he announced one dawn. There are plenty of fish there for breakfast. Nomi's fins trembled. She had heard the dolphins chattering the night before. A fast whirlpool had formed near the kelp forest, tugging at anything that came too close. She wanted to tell Elder Kilos, but her chest tightened. What if I'm wrong? She thought. What if everyone laughs? So she stayed silent as the pod began to swim. Beside her, a tiny shrimp named Pika drifted on a feather. You look worried, Pika said. Nami nodded. I heard there's a whirlpool near the kelp, she murmured. I think it might be dangerous to go there today. Then you should tell them, Pika replied. Your voice is small, but danger doesn't care about size. Nami's heart beat faster. I'm not brave like Elder Kilos, she said. My courage feels thin, like a jellyfish tentacle. Pika clicked. Thin courage still stings when it needs to. As they swam closer to the shimmering kelp forest, the water began to twist in gentle circles. Bubbles spun past, and the strands of kelp swayed in rushed patterns. Nami could feel the pull of the whirlpool in her tail. Elder Kilos signaled the pod to spread out and begin hunting. Stay together, he called. The currents are restless this morning. Nami looked at the swirling water, then at her family. The calves played near the edge of the kelp, chasing silver fish that flashed like coins. The whirlpool's tug grew stronger, like invisible fingers curling around them. If I don't say something now, Nami thought, the water might say it for me. Her heart thudded so loudly she could feel it in her tusk. She swam upward a little, trying to make her voice big enough to reach them all. In, out, one small brave, she whispered, copying the rhythm of her breath. Then she called, wait, please, wait. Her first shout came out thin, more like a squeak than a trumpet. No one heard. The current pulled harder. Nami clenched her fins. Again, she told herself, even if it wobbles. She filled her lungs with cold water and tried once more. This time her voice came out clearer, a ringing note that cut across the swirling sea. Elder Kilos, stop, There's a whirlpool ahead." The pod froze. Elder Kilos turned. "Nami," he asked, "what did you say?" Nami's cheeks warmed, but she kept going. "The dolphins told me," she explained. "They escaped a strong whirlpool near this forest last night. The water already feels wrong. Please, can we stay back and check before we swim closer?" The calves pressed against their parents. A hush rippled through the pod. Elder Kilos studied the twisting bubbles, then nodded. "Your voice is young," he said, "but your words are wise. Everyone, stay back. I'll test the current." He swam ahead with 2 narwhals by his side. As they neared the kelp, the water grabbed at them with sudden force. Even from a distance, Nami could see how hard they had to kick to break free. "There it is," Elder Kilos called as he returned, "a hidden whirlpool, just as Nami said. If the calves had gone any closer, they might have been pulled in." The pod murmured. Some turned to Nami with wide, grateful eyes. "You saved us," whispered a calf, bumping her side. Nami's heart fluttered. "I was so scared to speak," she admitted. "My voice felt too small." Elder Kelos smiled. "The sea is full of small things that matter greatly," he said. "Tiny fish feed mighty whales. Little shells build big reefs. And a small brave voice can protect an entire pod." For the rest of the day, the narwhals hunted in a safer cove, where the water moved in calm, slow breaths. Pika hovered near Nami's fin. "See," he said, "your thin courage stung when it needed to." Nami giggled, bubbles rising from her nose. "It still shakes," she confessed. "My voice might wobble again tomorrow." "Then let it wobble," Pika replied. "Wobbly courage is still courage, especially when it speaks for others." That night, as the moon painted silver on the surface of the sea, the pod rested in a sheltered bay. Nami floated near the top, watching faint glows from plankton flicker like tiny stars. Elder Kilos drifted beside her. "Nami," he said softly, "from now on, when we meet by the coral ring, I would like you to share anything you have heard or felt about the currents. Your thoughts are part of our map." "You really want to hear my little voice?" she asked. "Very much," he answered, "because bravery is not only in tusks and muscles, it is in honest warnings and caring hearts." Nami felt that thin line of courage inside her thicken, like seaweed growing stronger in the tide. She still knew she would be shy sometimes, but she also knew that when something important needed to be said, her little voice of brave could reach the ones who mattered most. Story 3. Have you ever tried to show respect, even when you really wanted your own way? In the leafy canopy of Greenwood Grove lived a polite young parrot named Pavo. His feathers shimmered in emerald, gold, and ruby, and whenever sunlight kissed his wings, he looked like a flying rainbow. Pavo loved singing, solving little puzzles, and learning new forest facts. But there was one thing he struggled with: respecting other voices when he thought his idea was the best. Every spring, the forest animals held the Great Gathering, a celebration where every creature contributed a performance. The monkeys swung in pairs and juggled fruit. The river otters danced across lily pads. The deer stamped rhythms with their hooves, and the birds combined their songs into a single grand melody. Pavo dreamed of leading that melody. "I have the clearest voice," he said proudly one morning. "I should choose the song we sing this year." Pika, the finch, fluttered nervously. "But last year you chose the song," she reminded him. "Maybe someone else could help decide." Pavo puffed out his chest. "But I have the best sense of rhythm. If I don't lead, the melody might fall apart." Rolo, the toucan, shook his large beak. "A forest song needs many notes," he said. "Not just one." But Pavo hardly listened. He was already practicing a bright, sharp melody he wanted everyone to sing. The next morning, the birds gathered on a strong, wide branch for their rehearsal. Pika suggested a gentle tune inspired by early morning dew. Rollo hummed a deeper rhythm like rumbling wind. Lyra, the lark, offered a cheerful melody full of trills. But every time someone began, Pavo jumped in. Too slow, too fast, too plain, too twisty, he said, interrupting each suggestion. My song is better, listen. And he launched into his bright melody again. At first the others tried to follow, but the song didn't fit their voices. The finches chirped too softly to match his powerful notes. The doves' coos didn't blend well with his fast rhythm. Soon the whole branch buzzed with frustration. Finally Rollo flapped his wings. Pavo, he said, we all want you to be part of the melody. But you're not letting anyone else sing. Pavo blinked. I'm trying to help. Lyra stepped forward. Helping means listening, she said gently. Maybe the best melody isn't one bird's idea, but a mix of all our voices. Pavo felt heat rise under his feathers. He opened his beak to argue, but just then a soft thump shook the branch. Elder Bramble, the wise old tortoise, looked up from below. Is something wrong up there? He asked. Your songs sound tangled, like vines fighting for sunlight. Pavo's feathers drooped. I only wanted us to sound perfect, he said quietly. Elder Bramble nodded. Perfection grows from respect. Not the kind where you stay silent, but the kind where you make space for others to shine too. Pavo fluttered down beside him. But what if their ideas don't fit mine? Bramble smiled. Then you weave them together. That is what makes a forest melody powerful. Roots, branches, leaves, they grow differently, yet share the same tree. Pavo looked up at his friends on the branch. Suddenly he noticed things he hadn't before. Pika's trembling wings, Rollo's patient eyes, Lyra's soft concern. They weren't rejecting him, they were hoping he'd see them. He felt a small twist in his chest. It wasn't anger or embarrassment. It was understanding. Pavo flew back to the branch and took a deep breath. Everyone, he said, I'm sorry I wasn't listening. I was too busy trying to lead. Can we start again? This time, I promise to respect every voice. The birds exchanged surprised smiles. Lyra nodded. We'd love that. They began once more. Pika introduced her gentle dew-morning melody. Rollo added a deep wind rhythm beneath it. Lyra layered her cheerful trills like sparkles of light. And Pavo this time waited. He listened to the rise and fall of each sound, the way they braided together. When it was his turn, he added a warm, steady harmony that lifted everyone else's notes instead of drowning them. The whole branch vibrated with a peaceful, joyful tune. Even the leaves seemed to sway to their beat. That's it, Rollo said softly. That's our forest melody. They practiced until the sun dipped low. And by the time the great gathering arrived, the birds were ready. When they performed their song, the entire grove fell silent, not with boredom, but with awe. The melody rose like morning light, soft and bright and full of togetherness. After the applause faded, Elder Bramble approached Pavo. Your harmony was beautiful, he said. Pavo dipped his head. It wasn't just mine, he replied. It was everyone's. And from that day on, whenever Pavo felt his feathers fluffed with stubborn pride, he whispered the words Elder Bramble had taught him. Respecting others' docility, make your voice smaller. It makes the whole forest stronger. Story 4. Have you ever kept something all to yourself, even though sharing it could make someone else smile? High above the rolling meadows of Bloomroot Valley lived a gentle young goat named Gala. Her soft white fur curled at the tips like tiny clouds, and her hooves clicked lightly against the stones as she climbed the hills. Gala loved many things: warm sunlight, cool breezes, and sweet field clover, but more than anything, she loved collecting wish pebbles. Wish pebbles were smooth stones shaped by the river until they glowed softly with pastel colors: pink, mint, lavender, lemon. Every creature in the valley believed that if you held a pebble close to your heart and whispered a hope, the pebble carried that hope like a tiny lantern. Gala had a secret nook in an old hollow stump where she stored her collection. Each pebble had a memory. One she found after helping a bird reach its nest. Another she spotted during her first solo climb. She polished them daily until they shone like soft moons. One gentle morning, Gala trotted to the riverbank and gasped in delight there. Half buried in the pebbly shore was the rarest stone of all, a golden wish pebble. It shimmered so brightly that even the water around it sparkled. "Oh," Gala breathed, "you're wonderful. You'll be the crown of my collection." She tucked it carefully into her satchel and skipped home, her heart bubbling with excitement. As she climbed the hill, she heard sniffles coming from a cluster of thistles. It was Peary, the tiniest lamb in the meadow, his woolly coat ruffled with worry. "What's wrong, Peary?" Gala asked gently. Peary looked up with watery eyes. "Tomorrow is the Spring Hopes Festival, and everyone is bringing a wish pebble to share. But I haven't found even one. I've searched all week." He kicked at the ground. "It's like the river forgot about me." Gala's satchel grew heavy. She felt the warm glow of the golden wish pebble against her side. She imagined offering it. She imagined keeping it. And then she imagined the empty spot in her stump. "Oh," she said softly, "I'm sorry, Peary. I hope you find one in time." Peary nodded sadly and shuffled away. As Gala walked home, her hooves felt heavier with each step. At her stump, she placed the golden wish pebble on its own little patch of moss. It gleamed warmly, almost proudly. "It's perfect," she whispered. But when she curled up to rest, she felt an uncomfortable twist under her ribs, almost like a thorn from the thistle bushes Peary had been sitting in. She turned over, then again, then again. "Why do I feel prickly?" she wondered. She peeked at the pebble. It glowed beautifully, but instead of joy, she felt a tug of guilt. By midnight, she had sat up 3 times, wondering what Peary was doing. By dawn, she still hadn't slept. Finally, she sighed. A pebble's glow is brighter when it lights 2 hearts, not one. She nudged open her stump, lifted the golden wish pebble, and tucked it carefully into her satchel once more. Gala found Peary near the daisy patch, tracing circles in the dirt with his hoof. "Peary," she called softly. He glanced up. "Oh, hi, Gala." She took a deep breath. "I found a pebble yesterday, and I want you to have it." Peary blinked. "For me?" Gala nodded and opened her satchel. A warm, golden light spilled out. Peary gasped. "That's the rarest pebble in all Bloomroot," he cried. "But it's yours." "It was," Gala admitted. "But I think it will shine best with you." Peary's eyes filled with happy tears. "Gala, thank you." They walked together to the festival meadow, where creatures from burrow to treetop gathered with their wish pebbles. When it was Peary's turn to offer his hope, he lifted the golden pebble proudly. "I wish," he said softly, "that everyone here will always have someone who shares a bit of light when they need it." Gala felt her heart bloom wider than any valley flower. The glow from the golden pebble spread warmly across the meadow, brighter than it had ever shone in her collection. Later, Elder Fen the fox approached Gala. "You gave away something precious," he said. "Yes," Gala replied. "But somehow, it feels like I have more now." And she truly did, for from that day on, whenever Gala found a new wish pebble, she placed only half in her stump. The other half she always saved for someone whose heart needed a little glow. Story 5. Have you ever felt frustrated when something didn't work, but you kept trying anyway? In the soft, mossy heart of Misty Willow Bog lived a young beaver named Tibbo, whose teeth were sharp, paws were busy, and ideas were always bubbling. Tibbo loved building stick huts, mini dams, leaf bridges, anything he could shape with patience and wood. Yet, for all his excitement, Tibbo had one big struggle. He wanted everything to work perfectly the very first time. One bright morning, the Forest Council announced the River Helpers Challenge, where young animals would build something useful for the community. The winner's creation would be placed at the busy crossing where everyone could enjoy it. Tibbo's tail slapped the water with excitement. "I'll build the strongest water wheel ever," he declared. "It will spin fast, and the river will sing." His friend Mela, the muskrat, swam beside him. "That sounds wonderful," she said. "But water wheels take a lot of testing," Tibbo puffed proudly. "I don't need many tries. I'm Tibbo the builder." By mid-morning he had already collected the straightest sticks, the roundest bark pieces, and a smooth stone for weight. He arranged everything at the river's edge and began lashing them together with tough reeds. The wheel looked lovely, perfect, even, until he set it in the water. Instead of spinning, it bobbed like a lazy leaf, then tipped sideways, then sank with a sad bloop. Tibbo's whiskers drooped. No, it was supposed to work right away. Mela paddled up gently. "It's a great start. Maybe tighten the center." Tibbo frowned, "But I made it carefully. I don't want to start over." He dragged the soggy wheel from the water, leaves dripping. He tightened the center, adjusted sticks, and tried again. Sploosh, the wheel flipped backward. "Why won't you just work?" Tibbo groaned. Nearby, Elder Swan drifted past, feathers gliding like white silk. "Good creations," she said, "often need many beginnings." Tibbo crossed his paws. "Mine shouldn't." Still, he tried again, and again, and again. Each time, something went wrong. The bark cracked, the structure wobbled, or the reeds loosened. Every failure felt heavier than the last. By evening, Tibbo sat alone beside his pile of rejected pieces. "Maybe I'm just not good at building after all." Just then, Mela approached carrying a shiny pebble. "Tibbo, look what I found. It made me think of you." He blinked. "Why?" "Because it's smooth from years of flowing water," she said. "Not from one splash. Your skill will grow the same way with patience." Tibbo stared at the pebble. Slowly, something soft settled in his chest. "Do you want to help me try again?" Mela brightened. "Of course, let's begin small." Together, they rebuilt the frame stronger, simpler, steadier. Tibbo tested each connection with gentle taps instead of fast rushes. When the center felt loose, he didn't sigh, he tightened it. When a stick bent oddly, he replaced it. When a reed snapped, they braided a new one. They worked until moonrise, their reflections glowing on the river. "Ready?" Mela asked. Tibbo nodded breathlessly. They set the new wheel into the water. This time, it bobbed, it wobbled, it spun one slow circle, then two, then three. Tibbo's eyes widened. "It's working. It's really working." Mela cheered. "See? Patience builds greatness." The next morning, Tibbo presented his water wheel at the River Helpers Challenge. The other young animals marveled at its steady spin and soft, soothing hum. Elder Swan smiled warmly. "Not only is this a fine wheel, Tibbo," she said, "but we watched your determination grow with every attempt. Perseverance is the real masterpiece." Tibbo's tail thumped proudly. "I used to think things should work the first time," he admitted. "But now I know every mistake helped me succeed." When the council voted, Tibbo's wheel won the honor of being placed at the busiest crossing. Its gentle turning reminded everyone who passed by that learning takes time and that giving up too early hides that magic waiting just one more try ahead. From that day on, Thibaut kept every failed piece of wood in a special pile he called his almost drawer. Whenever a young builder felt discouraged, he would show them the drawer and say, "These are all the tries that helped me get better. Your tries matter too." And the river wheel spun peacefully beside them, whispering the same lesson with each turn. If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to subscribe for more magical animal adventures.